The word aboleth is part of a language from the Aboleths, and when you translate it, it roughly equates to owner, master, god. The aquatic creatures called the Aghollthu Masters. They are part of an anatomically diverse set of species, all belonging to Aghollthu, meaning the one who are all. They have also had a hand in raising species up from their primitive ways, turning them to slaves, and then being betrayed by them. Bow before your fish gods! Hi, my name's Nathaniel, and I'm a dork who loves playing tabletop games, as well as talking about the worlds around them. If that's something you're interested in, I would love to have you join me at the table. When one thinks about the Aghollthu, one thinks fish. Their appearance is very alien, it is very bizarre, as is many things when you're dealing with deep, dark oceans. Not only are they fish-like in their appearance, they are absolutely massive. They are huge fish. They have 3 red eyes that they see from, and outside of the eyes, there is really no other facial distinguishing features. Nothing that's common anyways. Their bodies are covered in slime, which is quite a trick to do when you live in the water. And some of these great beasties, they don't even have a mouth. And if you look at the sides of them, where you would normally find fins on a fish, they instead have tentacles. If you had to measure one, they would be about 25 feet long and 6,000 pounds. The Aghollthu Masters, they are masters of mind manipulation magic. The illusions they weave, they crush the will of their targets. Their illusions confuse and confound others. And for those who are strong of mind and are able to actually resist the Aghollthu's presence and their magics, they have a trick up their sleeve. If an Aghollthu touches you with one of their slimy, gross arms, it weakens your body, it weakens the flesh in the areas it has touched. And when all else fails, let's say you could resist the mind magic and the slimy, gross, weakening stuff, if they still want to get you, they can emit a poisonous gas. Poisonous in the sense that it removes your ability to breathe air and instead replaces it with the ability to breathe underwater. This type of cloud gas chemical attack is only really reserved for the slaves that they want to bring underwater and build their cities. Because while you're under this effect, you are also more loyal to the Aghollthu Masters. Now, this effect only lasts for a short period of time, a couple of hours, and it needs to be renewed regularly. So where do these aboleths live? Obviously, they must live in the water because they're fish deep within the Arcadian oceans. They have vast cities built so far underground the sunlight doesn't touch them. It is said that their city design is so far removed from human architecture, it is actually nightmarish to look at. If you are familiar with Golarion history, you will know that the center of the Arcadian Ocean used to contain a continent known as Aslant. This was the home of the Aslanti people. The Aboleths, they took the Aslant people out of obscurity, they enslaved them, and they became kind of a crowning achievement to the Aghollthu Masters. That was until the Aslanti people decided they were better than their fish gods, their overlords, and decided to rebel against them. In retribution for this, the Aghollthu, they used their magic to call a comet to Earth known as the Earthfall event. They did make a slight miscalculation. Their goal was to wipe out all of the land-dwelling species and start over, except for the fact that the asteroid they called down would have destroyed the planet entirely, including the oceans that they lived in. Whoopsie! In Pathfinder 2nd edition, the Aghollthu, the Aboleths, they still exist. They are quite rare to find, but they do exist. It's also stated that their magical meddling of civilizations, societies, and creatures have actually created some horrors, some monsters that still affect the world today. Their slaves that they manipulated throughout history, the creatures that they transformed and morphed with their transformation magics. They created the Faceless Stalkers, and it's even said that they are responsible for mimics. I will be talking about some of the creatures and the things that they have influenced in just a little bit, so stick around. The Aghollthu, the Aboleths, they have consistently underestimated their enslaved races and their will to live, their will to survive. This goes not just for the human races they have done this to, but all species that they have tried to manipulate and control. You see the evidence of this, that there is still life on Golarion after Earthfall. When this happened, it not only weakened all the land-dwelling species, but it also weakened the Aghollthu themselves. And this wouldn't have been a problem if everybody comes down and stays weak at the same time, except for the fact that the Aghollthu did not regain their power as fast as the other races. This has caused them to withdraw and stay in their underwater cities, where they are still slowly growing to power and trying their manipulative games. Now, what species exist within the Aghollthu Masters gene pool, I guess you could call it? The most common Aghollthu is the aboleth. This is the fish creature that I have just been describing through the whole video. They are the common folk. They are the ones that are most prolific. They have a superiority complex and they see themselves as better than everyone and everything. You know when you encounter a monster who is horrified by their monstrous appearance? The aboleths are not like this. They revel in their disgusting, hideous fish form. They love being creatures of nightmare. They existed before the gods, which is why they feel they have the right to ownership of all life on Golarion. The very concept that there are other gods that these lower beings, these peasants, could worship, this angers the aboleths. Now, one creature that I have mentioned that the aboleths created was the Aghollthus. I hope I'm pronouncing that one right. Aghollthus. Also known as the Faceless Stalker, these disgusting, horrifying creatures used shape-shifting powers to infiltrate society and assassinate key targets so that they could influence the culture. Classic cloak and dagger stuff. The Faceless Stalker was very commonly used to carry out the aboleth plans on land. However, when it comes to the modern day of Pathfinder, the Faceless Stalker doesn't really have the influence. They don't have the control from the aboleths, and they are operating under their base programming from so long ago. Although they do operate on the land, they don't like to be too far from the ocean or the sea. But what is their programming, that you ask? It was to sow seeds of discord, to create confusion, and to drive society, towns, whatever you want to call them, into the path of destruction. Aghollthus, they do need sustenance. They do create problems for human societies or any society in general that they have become targeted by. So how do the Aghollthus sustain themselves? Well, they have a tongue that they latch onto you like a leech. They have a very specific bite pattern, and this tends to let hunters or those who are in the know that they're dealing with a Faceless Stalker. However, if you have someone who doesn't know what they're dealing with, often these bodies can be chalked up to vampires or the chupacabra. One of the most common species of the aboleths was the ulat-kinis. The ulat-kinis. They were half humanoids, half fish people, and they tend to be a bit of a go-between the land and the water. At the height of their power, their numbers were legion. They were huge in the sense that there was a lot of them. When the Aghollthus abandoned their land conquests, their missions, and retreated to the oceans, they abandoned the ulat-kinis. When this happened, their numbers declined, their society crumbled, their species degenerated, and their foes gave them a new nickname that has kind of stuck with them, and they don't like it. Skum. Now, one of the most dangerous members of the Aghollthu family is the Veiled Masters. Vidoliths, as they are called, they are powerful masters of mind manipulation magic, as well as shape-changing abilities, and they kind of like to flaunt their skill. They lead and manipulate species directly in the open. That's how bold these guys are. I mean, I guess they could be women too. Maybe, I don't actually think they're gender specific. They can also use a very wide variety of arcane and occult spells, and they do this to a very devastating effect. It's very common for the Veiled Masters to infiltrate a society, someone who is of political importance. They will kill them, take the shape of the person they have killed, and continue leading the society, the military, the occult, the religion, whatever it is that they have infiltrated to a path that more suits their own desires. Most paranoid adventurers believe there is a secret cabal of Aboleths in every city, every town, every major organization, controlling everything for the worse. Maybe they're not wrong. One thing's for sure, the Aboleths are bad news bears for anyone involved, any species involved. You just don't want to mess with it. Now, if you'd like to learn about how the Aboleths nearly destroyed Golarion, click on this video here. Thank you to all of my patrons who support me and the channel. All of your support is greatly appreciated. My name's Nathaniel. Thanks for stopping by, everyone.